Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. And as always, if you are a recurring viewer or a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support of my channel. I really appreciate you all being here today. I wanted to sit down really briefly and do a standard weekend reading update. I have not covered a whole lot of reading ground this past week, so I don't have an incredible amount to talk about, but I wanted to just go over what I have made progress in and what I am currently reading. So the first book that I want to talk about is the only book that I finished last week, and that was The Story of Britain by Rebecca Fraser. And this is one that I hauled a couple haul videos ago, and I initially sort of introduced it into my reading, I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I wrapped this up just Friday it was, and it was such a fantastic read. This is a complete history of Britain from the Roman time up through the present, and by present 2002. This book was published in 2003, so fairly recent. It goes into the middle of the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, and I believe this ends with Tony Blair as Prime Minister. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I believe it was. And the organization of this book is fantastic. It definitely is very much snapshot based, just because of the amount of history, the amount of time that is covered in this book. You cannot stay in any one period for very long at all. So especially in some of the earlier history, certain monarchs get even just a couple of pages sort of attributed to their section of the timeline, but it is still fascinating. And Rebecca Fraser's writing is very engaging. She's very well informed, very well researched, and well organized. And it was just a joy to read. I would highly recommend it to anyone interested in sort of a snapshot of British history. It definitely inspired me to then want to go in and focus a little bit more on some of the areas that I realized I didn't know very much about. And I've been getting into reading a lot of Tudor and Elizabethan history lately. And so having sort of an overview of those two periods really piqued my interest to want to dive into them in more detail in the future. Moving on to the books that I am currently reading, I am still working my way through H.W. Brand's The Last Romantic, his Teddy Roosevelt biography. This is a brick of a book, so I'm going to be in this for a while. I believe I am on page 333. So page 333 of about 800 or so pages. I am listening to this one on audiobook and reading it as well, but I'm just taking my time in it. I'm not rushing it. It's such a fascinating story, and TR is such an interesting figure to read about that I really am in no rush to finish it. I'm just really enjoying reading about his life in the detail that H.W. Brand presents. This is the third TR biography that I have read that is a single volume, and so far this has been the most detailed and the most sort of well-rounded of those three. So I think this may turn out to be my favorite Teddy Roosevelt biography. I'm excited to see. And then I just started a second book yesterday morning, and that is Abigail and John, A Portrait of a Marriage by Edith B. Gells. Or Gellis, I'm not quite sure. This is, and I'm sorry, I apologize about the glare there, but this is a book that I've had on my shelf for a while now, and I'm really making it an effort in 2024 to try to read through most of the remaining unread books in my library. It's not a huge amount anymore because I have been sort of going through and doing a little bit of some unhauling, and I'm planning on making a video about that here in the future. So I've been sort of weeding down the amount of unread books, but I want to make a big effort to read those remaining unread books in my library. And this is one that I forgot that I had until I was sort of perusing my shelves yesterday and came across it. It was tucked in the back corner up against a wall, and I sort of had forgotten it was there. It was smashed between two bigger volumes, and I forgot that I had it. And I always love reading about the Addams family. John and Abigail's relationship is a particular interest of mine, and I have a couple other books specifically about their relationship, one by John Ferling called The First Family. Joseph J. Ellis called The First Family, about John and Abigail Adams. But I have not read this one yet. And it's a very short book. It's 280 pages, so it's not going to take me very long to get through. And it's very much just a snapshot of their marriage during the events of the Revolutionary War and in through the sort of the ratifying of the Constitution, the early forming years of the United States. And it's very much also a social history, sort of focusing on the elements that oftentimes get overshadowed by the bigger key moments of that time period. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm very much at the beginning. I'm just about 50 pages in, but the writing so far has been very engaging. As far as detail, it doesn't seem to be the most detailed of books on the subject. Obviously, given the length, it's not supposed to be detailed. It's very much supposed to be a glossary sort of overview of this one specific element of the time period. But for what it's meant to do, it is doing a fantastic job. And that is what I will currently be working on. The TR biography will probably be floating into the rest of this week and maybe even next week. And I'm hoping to finish Abigail and John sometime early this week and then start into a second book. And I will give updates on that sort of as they happen. But that is it for today's update. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you would like, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now, and happy reading.